Hi there. I'm Sam McCarter, President of Foundation's Progressive Learning Center and also an intern at Consolidated Electrical Distributors. So, when I was reading through the book, Act Like a Leader, Think Like a Leader, the three big ideas that I came across that I thought were most important and also a mix of surprising were first, her whole formula of the idea, the process, and you equal success in leading. That was success in leading change. That was on page 46 of the book. I found that to be important just because overall, it's always important to just have that basis for what it is that you need to have in order to change anything in any kind of program. The other one that I found to be pretty surprising was that action drives change, not thoughts and meditations. I found that to be surprising because, well, everything I've always heard is that you're supposed to self reflect, think on what you did, think on how it can be improved. But in Act Like a Leader, Think Like a Leader, the focus is on don't think about it so much as just go out and actually do it. And that was a pretty different idea than what I'm used to seeing. Finally, the last one that I found both surprising and also disagreed with was the lazy principle of forming friendships and networking. I disagreed with this, but also found it kind of surprising and could see where she was coming from. It was surprising because, well, you'd think when it comes to networking, people would make some kind of effort to expand beyond what they've always done. However, I disagreed with it because, at least myself personally and my business partner at Foundations, we both have very diverse networks. I can name off the top of my head three or four close friends, actually, in my personal network, that I feel are surprisingly and rather radically different than myself. It doesn't make it any less different that they're still my friends. We're still in the same network, but it is honestly kind of why I disagree with her view. So later on, she also starts to talk a lot about chameleons and true selfers. And I guess an example of me acting like a chameleon is anytime I start a new job. I've started three or four of those in my lifetime. And anytime I show up to one of these new jobs, for the first couple weeks at least, I spend the entire time imitating. I don't try and be myself or do my own thing. It's always what are the people there that are clearly respected and looked well upon, and what are they doing? How can I emulate it? How can I change that into something that's my own? However, I've also got an example of me being a true selfer, and that's more in my Reserve Officer Training Corps component. And there, I don't imitate what everybody else does. I like to do my own thing every once in a while. And just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean it's something that I want to do. I like to do my own thing in that world because it just fits me better. I guess thinking about it a little bit, I have to say that I find myself being a chameleon more often than not. And my evidence for this is both I act like a chameleon whenever I'm at a new job, but also my friends, even though I've got three or four pretty distinct groups of them, all of which are very unique from each other and wouldn't mesh well if I got them all together in one big party. But they all say one of the things they like about me the most is that I'm genuine. And I know that I don't act the same around all of them. So either I've got three or four genuine selves that I'm able to be, or more accurately, I'm able to act as a chameleon around these different groups of people to best get my views and my personal beliefs across to them in ways that still work. So also later on in the book, Act Like a Leader, Think Like a Leader, they end up discussing networks. And one of my weaknesses with networking, I honestly feel, is actually my personal network. And I feel it because that's the one I think is lacking the most. When I look at it and I did a little bit of some network analysis on myself, I just found that it was where I was weak. I had a pretty solid strategic network of people that I could rely on to help me get different views out and across, both within the actual places that I work at, but also in other strategic locations, such as the military. And so this kind of leads into major challenges of building a strategic network, which I found that probably the hardest thing is just finding those people who will help fit into those roles you need of helping you be competitive into the future. It's hard to find the people that have that ability to devote the needed time to both help you, but also for you to help them. And that seems kind of common sensey, but anytime time management comes into the role, it's just extremely difficult to get everything going the way you want it to. So, finally, thinking about a leader, business leader specifically that I look up to, I actually look up to one of my former bosses and also the mother of one of my best friends. Her name is Cindy Weiss. Um, Having worked for her, I was able to experience her leadership firsthand, and it's was in a doctor's office setting, working the front desk because I don't have any official medical credentials that let me do anything else. But I was always amazed at how she was able to not just consistently, but rather easily rally all the other employees and get everyone to go that little extra mile that helped us stand out from other doctor's offices. I look up to her and I admire her because she's experienced the pains of growing a doctor's office from just one provider who was her own husband to actually four others. Um, and in that process, adding nearly a dozen staff members to payroll. And while doing all of this, she actually went off and because she was kind of bored, started a entire and surprisingly successful salsa company on the side of all of this. So I've kind of looked at it and I realized that in both the doctor's office and her salsa company, her networks have been absolutely key. Without all the connections that she has, the doctor's office wouldn't have been able to be as successful. It's hard to get people in your doctor's office when you don't know people. When people aren't spreading the word about, hey, Dr. Weiss is this awesome guy, so on and so forth, or this nurse practitioner is just the bomb, or this physician's assistant is as awesome as it gets. It's incredibly difficult to get people to want to come see you. And then taking the connections that she used to get the doctor's office up off the ground and also the many connections that she's built from it, she was able to turn that around into and more of that network there into a even more powerful strategic network that she was able to launch a successful salsa company that has product in nearly every grocery store in southeast Nebraska except for some Walmarts or all the Walmarts, I guess, and a few of the more local little guys that maybe have two or three locations in the whole area. But she's in all sorts of places and it's an awesome salsa. So she's obviously managed to do a lot of things with her time. Um, I guess that when it really comes down to it, I'd say that she really comes across as a bit of a chameleon. She definitely seems able to fit into a whole bunch of very strange, very different social networks rather easily. She's able to make friends with anybody, she's able to build a connection with anybody, and she always comes across as very genuine and a very caring person, which isn't necessarily something you would always expect. So, I guess in conclusion, I'd say that her ability to be a chameleon type of personality has been instrumental in getting both of her companies off the ground and highly profitable and very successful. That's all I've got. Thanks for listening.